Very honored to be addressing you as part of your journey towards securing that additional or first board seat. Now you have your board documents ready. You articulated your personal brand and authority, and you know how to market and present yourself. You're well prepared for interviews with nominating committees and/or search firms the moment you get invited. Remember, the key to landing that additional or first board seat is in packaging, and that goes beyond your board documents. Because before you get invited to the interview, the search firm and/or nominating committee will Google you. As a side note, I am aware of the fact that a growing number of executives like yourselves are using less Google services because of privacy reasons. However, for ease of reference, I do use the term Google when I refer to any kind of searches on the internet. Your online presence is critical in the selection process. A strong online presence significantly increases the chances that you get invited to the table. In this session, we will discuss how to build, maintain, and control a strong online presence in order to achieve that next professional goal, which is securing that board seat. Because whether we like it or not, and whether it's accurate or not, my favorite one-liner, you are who Google says you are. So let me ask you a question. Do you Google yourself on a regular basis? Let's say every 3 months. Just for yourself, answer yes or no. Let me share some statistics. 30% of people Google themselves on a regular basis, which means 70% of us don't. What does that mean? It means that thinking about the real world, if you walk into a business meeting or you walk into an interview for a board seat, or you are prepared, or 70% of us, we would go in there without a business card, without preparing the meeting, and even without looking in the mirror. Now, who does that? Nobody. Because there's a second question I'd like to ask you, which will probably make us more aware of why this is so important. Who Googles others? Do you Google others before you meet them, after you met them, before you decide to do business with them? Yes or no? Now probably everybody says yes. Because again, an interesting statistic, around 95% of people Google others. Do you see the gap? 30% of us Google ourselves, 95% of people Google us. So if we do not know how we come across or how we're being presented online, that's a bad thing. So what I would like to say first is to, as of today, ask you every 3 months, go online, type in your name and see what shows up. Even if you decide to do nothing with it, at least you're aware of your online presence. Because the third aspect here is interesting. Did you ever, it's another question, did you ever decide not to follow through with a relationship because of what you found or maybe didn't find online? Yes or no? 50% of people decided not to follow through with a relationship. That means that we miss out on opportunities because we're not well presented online. Think about that board seat that you're after. And imagine there's 2 board candidates, you and someone else. Or let's say you and me. You have an impeccable online presence. Mine, not that great. The nominating committee Of course they will Google both of us. They will see yours, which is outstanding. Mine, So what are they going to do? Who are they going to talk to first? Of course, to you. And if you live up to the expectations that you created online in the real conversation, they're probably not even going to speak to me. So I'm missing out on opportunities that I'm not even aware of. So this is why it's super important that we have and create a strong online presence. Okay, so now that we all agree on this, I hope, let's take a look at some of the common mistakes that senior executives and board members still make today when it comes to their online presence. The first mistake is probably the most important one. We forget to focus on the future. Think about your resume, your LinkedIn. Many of the conversations that we have, they're all focused on what we did, where we lived, where we studied, where we worked, what we achieved. That's a given. That's great and that's probably very impressive. But what we're interested in and what the board is interested in is what you're going to achieve or with the value that you're going to bring to them. So what we should do is we should shift our gears toward the future and talk about the value that we bring. Talk about what we're passionate about, what we're trying to achieve, the change that we want to bring. That's what we should communicate. Focus on the future. Because then and only then can other people help us achieve that goal. If they don't know what we're after, nobody can help us. This also reflects back to what was discussed previously in the course, which has to do with everything that comes to your attention, look at it and decide as follows. Does it fit my values? Does it fit my vision, which is to focus on the future? And then and only then we go to the mission. So the mission is the third, but the vision to the future, that's what we should focus on. Super important. The second mistake is a broad one. And is that we very often still today underestimate the importance of our online presence. People think, I have a great offline network, I know so many people, and I have my LinkedIn. However, the connections that you have on your LinkedIn, they need to have the right ammunition to be able to talk about you, to refer you. And then the people that you are being referred to, what are they going to do when they hear about you? Of course, they Google you. So we need to make sure that when they Google you or when the referral talks about you, that they can find your online narrative, that they can find your story and that they can easily talk about you and recommend you. The next mistake I'd like to discuss is that we often not create content. We do not create content. Why? Because we don't have time, we don't know what to create content about, we don't like to write, we're not good at writing, and we don't like to be in front of a camera. All valid reasons. However, if we want to make sure that people understand we are an authority, a thought leader, they want to get to know us, we need to create content. Because content gives us the possibility to create proof to support our personal brand, to articulate our personal brand. Content creation is key. A funny thing here, and maybe a tip at the same time, is that a lot of people say there are so many images of me online, but when I Google myself, I don't see them. So my question then is like, what's the file name of the picture before you uploaded it? Was it your name? Or was it something like img_1234? I think it's img something. Well, no matter how smart Google and all the other search engines are, they can never know that img1234 is you. Could be anyone. So make sure that the next time when you upload a picture that you want people to find when they Google you, make sure it has your name. So change the file name to your name, ideally add a positioning statement, and then you upload it. Apart from creating content or not creating content, the last mistake that I would like to discuss is about publication. And it's my second favorite one-liner, which says, if you don't publish, it didn't happen. Imagine you're on a speaking engagement. You're talking to an audience of 100 people, great talk, superb. If you do not record it and publish it afterwards, or even a snippet of it, actually it didn't happen. It was there in the moment, but if you don't use it afterwards, it was great at the moment, but that was all it was. So if you want to make sure that you're being known as a thought leader, that people recognize you as a thought leader, you need to make sure that you capture this kind of content and publish it. So these were the mistakes. So how are we going to do this? Where do we start? How do we build a strong online presence? We designed a roadmap with 6 milestones, and I will take you through them step by step. The first thing that we need to start with is doing an online assessment. And that's what I told you before. As of now, start Googling ourselves every 3 months. Type in our name and look at, is this me? Is the content that I find relevant? Is it current, or is it all 2015 or older? And most importantly, is this going to help me achieve my next goal? Am I positioned as the board director that I am? The second step on the roadmap is personal branding. You already articulated your personal brand, and the most important thing about finding your personal brand or defining your personal brand is determining what your unique benefit points are. What are some of your key differentiators? What do people need to know about you before they meet you? What's your positioning statement? And think about that your personal brand is never about what you do. Your personal brand is on a higher level. It talks about who you are and what you stand for, independent of what you do. Because today you might be doing these things, but tomorrow you come up with another idea, but it still needs to fit into who you are and to what you stand for. So your positioning statement is always on a higher level. The third milestone is about LinkedIn. We all know LinkedIn is king. Everybody has a LinkedIn. A lot of people go to LinkedIn to check you out. Remember, it's only 1 of the 10 results on your Google search, but that doesn't mean it's not important. Your LinkedIn needs to be up to date, it needs to be impeccable, it needs to be visually attractive. There are several things that you can do on LinkedIn to make it look better. Use a good background picture. If you are a thought leader and if you are a speaker, show it in your background picture on LinkedIn. Show a picture of you on stage or speaking. As we all know, an image says more than 1,000 words. Use your headline. Use in the headline the major that we talked about before in the course as well. Your LinkedIn About is an ideal place to talk about the future. Talk about the 3 minors and talk about the vision that you have for the future. Do not repeat what's in your resume and do not talk about your past experiences. Focus your LinkedIn About to the future. The next milestone is content creation. And as I said before, it's a daunting task for a lot of people. Lots of reasons why we don't do it, but we should. Because again, if we want to convey our thought leadership, we need content. Now there are all kinds of different ways in which we can create content, and we can start very simple and we can go really very complex. A simple way of starting creating content is to use third-party content. Harvard Business Review, Forbes articles that are about your topic. You read them, you think, hey, this is an interesting piece. Write a 200 to 300 word introduction to it. in which you write your take on the article. Why is it relevant? How does it resonate with your vision? And how is it important for your audience? Another thing really important about content is that you have to define your communication topics. Make sure you define or you take 1 or 2 topics, no more. I only communicate about personal branding and online presence. I'm interested in many more topics, but in order to make sure that I'm being seen as the thought leader that I am in this field, I have to make sure that I'm consistent. So those are my 2 topics, and I don't talk about anything else. So find your 2 topics or 1 topic and stick to it. So whenever you create content, find another angle, another perspective, whatever it is, but stick to your topic. Because if you, let's say, publish on a monthly basis and you publish something new every month, a new topic every month, people don't know for what reason to connect with you because you're all over the place. So stick to your topic and communicate in a consistent way. So the Harvard Business Review is one. The second way that you can think about is look on your computer, look in your drawer. Do you have old content which is still relevant? One of our clients has written a book in 2008, 2009. He said, the book is no longer relevant, but it is. But if I say it's a book from 2008 or 9, that doesn't sound really current. So we said, why don't we interview you? So we asked him 2-3 questions. Why the book is still relevant today, how it's different from the time he wrote it, and how he thinks it's going to change in the future. So with a few simple questions, a book from 2009 suddenly is relevant again. So dig into your laptop, your drawer, your archives, see if you have articles, interviews, white papers, speaking engagements, content that you can use or repurpose to make sure that you're still relevant and current today. Another way of creating content is do video interviews. Video interviews in which you share your opinion. But you can also do video interviews with people from your network. Peers, other board directors. Pick a topic, have a short conversation and share the video in your own network and of course in the network of the person you interviewed. The interesting part about this is that suddenly your reach is not just in your network, but you will also have reach and visibility in the network of the person that you interviewed. So you're exchanging networks, which is good for visibility and exposure. Once we have the content, so we have an article or we have a video, let's make sure that we use interesting titles. If someone Googles you, what people often do is they just do title scanning. So they type in your name and they see what comes up and they make up their minds. If your name starts showing up and nothing else, it's not really that great. But if on the other hand I Google you and there's all kinds of interesting titles, the 3 key takeaways from a presentation about online presence, 5 tips to build your personal brand. We love lists, and especially if they have an odd number, and the number 3 is the perfect number. So remember that. Interesting titles, lists, and ideally 3 things on your list. Also, when we talk about content creation, video has become more and more important over the last few years. People want to know how you come across, how you speak. Boards want to see how you speak. What kind of person is he or she? Remember that when you create video content, it's important that you convey trust. If you only see my head, there's just a certain amount of trust that I can convey. The more you see of me, when you see my hands move, you can read my body language, the more trust I convey. Very important. And it's not just for video recording, it's also relevant for Zoom meetings. Now that we have content, the next question is, where are we going to publish it? Of course, we can publish it on LinkedIn. That's one part, and we should definitely do that. But remember, LinkedIn is only one of the 10 results of your Google search. And what we're trying to achieve is to control the online narrative that's out there about us, which means that we need to start publishing on different platforms. So let me share Signet with you. Signet is a platform that we use when we work with our clients. We start by creating your online dashboard that gives you control over the content that we share and distribute. Secondly, we add a new piece of content on a monthly basis to ensure that we keep you relevant and current. And lastly, with the dashboard as our guide, we ensure that the individual pieces of content will start showing up on your Google results. So once we start creating your Signet dashboard, we add content to it, we publish content on a regular basis. It's important that we realize that we need to keep you current and relevant. And that's exactly what Signet is set out to do. If this session set you up with enough input to continue the great work you're doing, perfect. If you say, I need a little bit of support, that's of course why we're here. We work with our clients on 3 different levels, helping them to define their personal brand, articulate that personal brand into content, and publishing the content so that we start controlling their online presence. So send me an email if you want to find out more about our services, or we schedule a call, or you say, I'm ready, I'm going to sign up for Signet right away. Thank you very much for attending.